Right now, somewhere above you, there are aircraft. Maybe 3, maybe 30. Steel tubes carrying hundreds of people, moving at 500 miles an hour, separated from each other by distances that would feel uncomfortably small if you could see them from the outside. The only thing organizing that geometry is a person, sitting in a darkened room, staring at a screen, talking into a headset. No algorithm is making the final call. No fail-safe is catching everything. Just a human being, holding the system together through sustained concentration. That person earns $144,000 a year. And that number, once you understand what the job actually requires, starts to look less like a salary and more like an insurance premium.
The question isn't whether that sounds like a lot. The question is whether, by the end of this, you'll think it's enough.
Let's start with what the job actually is, because most people carry a rough picture, someone in a glass tower waving planes in, and that picture is almost entirely wrong. An air traffic controller is not watching planes. They are managing geometry, three-dimensional, constantly shifting, high-speed geometry. Every aircraft in their sector is a moving point in space, with a velocity, a heading, a rate of climb or descent, a destination, and a pilot on the other end who might request a deviation at any moment. The controller must hold all of this simultaneously, not on paper, in their head, while issuing instructions, anticipating conflicts that haven't materialized yet, and maintaining what the industry calls separation. A busy approach controller might have 15 aircraft stacked in a holding pattern, 2 on final approach, 1 pilot requesting a deviation around a storm cell, and another declaring minimum fuel, all simultaneously, all requiring different instructions, all moving at several hundred miles an hour. Think of a chess grandmaster, not playing one game, playing 50, simultaneously. Except the board is three-dimensional. The pieces move on their own. And if 2 pieces occupy the same square, the consequences are not a lost match. The cognitive load here isn't stress in the familiar sense, the stress of a difficult meeting or a looming deadline. It's something more specific. Psychologists call it situational awareness under uncertainty, the mental cost of maintaining a live model of a dynamic system, updating it in real time, projecting it forward, and making decisions faster than most people can finish a sentence. On any given day, roughly 44,000 flights move through U.S. airspace. 14,000 FAA controllers manage that system. That's 3 flights per controller, at any given moment, simultaneously, in motion. That's not a generous ratio. That's a system running at the edge of its capacity. But cognitive difficulty alone has never explained why any job pays well. Plenty of brutal, demanding work pays almost nothing. So what's actually driving the number? When you hire a surgeon, you're not just paying for their time. You're paying for the probability that they don't make the catastrophic mistake. The salary is partly a wage and partly an insurance premium, priced according to the downside risk of getting it wrong. Air traffic control works identically. A controller's error doesn't just endanger one aircraft, it cascades. In 2002, over Lake Constance in southern Germany, a Russian passenger jet and a cargo aircraft collided midair, killing 71 people, mostly children, on a school trip to Barcelona. The sequence that led to it was almost mundane. A breakdown in coordination, an overloaded controller, conflicting instructions between the ground and the aircraft's onboard collision system. The crew had 2 voices telling them to do opposite things. They chose the human voice. 1 lapse, 71 deaths, a network of legal proceedings, regulatory overhauls, and industry-wide retraining that ran for years. The salary, then, is not simply a reward for effort. It is the price of reduced probability. But there's a second layer to the economics: scarcity that the profession builds in by design. The FAA doesn't hire generically. Candidates face medical clearance, psychological screening, security checks, and cognitive assessments that eliminate the majority before they ever see a radar screen.
Those who pass go to the FAA Academy. Roughly 30% wash out there. The ones who survive spend 2 to 4 more years working toward full certification at an actual facility. The employer is investing heavily before seeing any productive return. At the end of that pipeline, about 2,200 openings per year. That's all, across the entire United States.
The FAA is currently trying to hire 8,900 new controllers by 2028, just to address the staffing shortfall they already have. At current hiring rates, they won't make it. That's not a system with surplus capacity. That's a system that structurally cannot replace itself fast enough. There's one more constraint that rarely gets discussed. Controllers don't just pass a medical evaluation at entry, they maintain it continuously throughout their career. Cardiovascular changes, neurological conditions, vision degradation, any of these can end a career midstream. The mandatory retirement age at the FAA is 56, not 65, not whenever you're ready. 56. You are not buying a lifetime of labor. You are buying a finite, medically gated window of peak performance, with a hard stop at the end. The economics make the salary defensible, but the economics don't explain why automation hasn't just solved this. Aviation is among the most technologically advanced industries on the planet. The FAA's STARS system already provides aircraft tracking, conflict alerts, terrain warnings, and radar vectoring at major terminal facilities. This is not primitive technology. And yet, there is still a human being in a darkened room, accountable for final decisions. Partly, that's regulation. But the more interesting answer is structural. Automation substitutes for fragments of the job, not the job itself. When automated conflict detection flags a potential loss of separation, it is identifying the situations the system wasn't built to resolve. Those land on the controller's desk. Weather deviations, cascading equipment failures, a pilot declaring an emergency mid-flight. The automated system handles the routine. The exceptions, the genuinely novel ones, stay human. There's a documented phenomenon that aviation engineers call the automation paradox. A controller who spends 6 hours watching an automated system manage routine separation doesn't spend that time building skill. They spend it monitoring, and monitoring is not the same as doing. When the automated system flags something it can't resolve, a simultaneous equipment failure and a pilot emergency in the same sector, it hands the situation to a human whose hands-on reflexes have been slowly, quietly degrading. The automation handles the routine. The exceptions stay human. But the more automation handles, the less prepared the human is for the exceptions. The conclusion aviation keeps arriving at is not to remove the human, but to keep the human genuinely skilled and genuinely accountable. The more sophisticated the system, the more you have to pay for the person who can override it. The economics are clear, but the economics don't tell you what the job actually does to the person doing it. The shifts don't follow biology, they follow traffic. Early mornings, overnight stretches, mid-afternoon starts, cycling through all of them on rotation. Research on controllers specifically has documented measurable disruption to cardiovascular rhythms, degraded performance during night hours, and rates of chronic sleep disorder significantly above the general population. This isn't a side effect of the job, it's a baseline condition of it. A 20-year follow-up study found that elevated stress reactivity during work shifts was a statistically significant predictor of later hypertension.
not a theoretical risk, a documented physiological outcome tracked across 2 decades. And the medical certification isn't just an entry requirement, it's a countdown. A controller who develops a cardiovascular condition in their 40s doesn't get reassigned to lighter duties. They get medically retired. The financial stability the job appears to offer comes with an expiration date you don't control. And then there's something the salary comparisons almost never mention: where that compensation came from. In August 1981, roughly 11,400 controllers walked off the job in a federal strike, the largest disruption to American aviation in history. President Reagan fired them all, every single one. The system ran at somewhere between 75 and 83% of pre-strike commercial capacity for years afterward. It took the better part of a decade to fully rebuild the workforce. That event permanently changed how aviation authorities think about controller labor. The pay is real. So is everything it costs. But there's a reason this particular job matters well beyond aviation. Right now, automation is moving through knowledge work the way mechanization moved through manufacturing, sector by sector, function by function. The dominant assumption is replacement. Technology arrives, the human role shrinks, wages compress. In many sectors, that's exactly what's happening. It may accelerate. But air traffic control is a stress test for that narrative, and it keeps failing to confirm it. The technology is mature. The economic incentive to automate is enormous. The regulatory environment is not hostile to change in principle. What controllers earn is a market signal. It is the price of human judgment in a system where judgment cannot yet be fully systematized, and where the cost of a mistake is immediate, visible, and irreversible. As automation advances, this pattern won't disappear. It will migrate. The occupations where human judgment remains genuinely irreplaceable will become more valuable, not less. Right now, somewhere above you, thousands of aircraft are moving through the sky. Hundreds of thousands of people, reading, sleeping, looking out windows, completely unaware of the coordination happening around them. Most of them will never know the name of the person who kept them separated. That's exactly the point. The safest systems in the world are built around people nobody notices until they're gone.